I've received a lot of questions from people about this case in Colorado where this truck driver received the sentence of 110 years following a conviction on 27 counts, including 4 counts of vehicular homicide and related assault charges. And obviously the vehicular homicide charges and the convictions are the most serious counts. And in Colorado, each one of those counts carries with them a 12-year sentence. It's my understanding. Now, I'm not licensed in Colorado and I know nothing about their laws, but I've looked into the case, and apparently the trial judge, who was the sentencing judge, was required to impose that sentence, and that's how they got into that 110-year range. He didn't want to do that, but was required to do that. And people were asking if, well, one, I thought the sentence was appropriate, and two, whether or not the governor was going to act, or whether the trial judge was going to act. And before I got an opportunity to make a video on it, it appears that the Colorado governor has acted and has commuted the sentence from 110 years to a 10-year sentence, and he's eligible for parole in 5 years. So in most likely he'll be out of prison in 5 years. So it's a dramatic decrease in a sentence. And I find it interesting that the judge acted before, that the governor acted before the judge even did. I mean, I know that prosecutors had supported the motion for reconsideration, which is what the legal mechanism is when you receive a sentence like that. But I would have expected the governor to wait for the prosecutors to argue the motion. And it's my understanding they were going to ask for a sentence of 20 to 30 years, which was, far more appropriate in their opinion. Now, the defense lawyer, I'm sure, is going to ask for something more along the lines of what the governor gave, 10 years and eligible for parole in 5. I can't imagine it being a lesser sentence than that. But it brings up an important point, because in Pennsylvania, for instance, and in New Jersey, there's mandatory minimum sentencing in a lot of cases, including vehicular homicide cases. Now, the mandatory minimum sentences are reserved for DUI cases, but there's almost a presumption that if you're convicted of vehicular homicide, you're going to serve a state prison sentence. And with that said, as a defense lawyer, I think that the governor was a little too lenient here in terms of the sentence that this man received. It's my understanding that, number one, he went to a jury trial. He didn't plead guilty. It was a 3-week jury trial. And I've been doing this for over a decade. And when you go to trial, especially a jury trial, the first thing you explain to a client is that you're rejecting the government's or the state's offer here, and you're forcing the state to expend resources. So if you are convicted, while it's not written down that the judge will impose a harsher sentence, it makes any type of mitigation argument a lot more difficult, because you've pled not guilty, you've made an argument that this wasn't your fault, and therefore the judge is almost obligated to give you more than what you would have received had you pled guilty. Pleading guilty saves resources, and also your attorney gets to argue that you accept the responsibility and you've not forced the victims' families to go through a trial and have to hear the evidence of how their loved one died. And that's exactly what happened in this case. To prove this case, the state had to put on evidence, medical documentation showing the cause of death and the proximate cause of that death. And that's the only way you get a conviction in any homicide case. So I'm sure the jury had to hear all those details, and I would doubt that the the defense stipulated to anything. So, with that said, while I don't think 110-year sentence is appropriate, I do think that a 5-year sentence is just totally out of line. 4 people lost their lives. And it'd be interesting to see what type of sentence Henry Ruggs receives when his case goes to trial, because it seems like more than likely if he went to trial, he'd be convicted. And right now, his attorneys are probably working on something complete. But this man received a 5 to 10-year sentence, and he killed 4 people. And granted, alcohol wasn't involved, but there was like in the Ruggs case, a lack of judgment. And there's evidence to show that this man in the Colorado case, Mr. Aguilar, could have actually avoided this incident and could have crashed into another truck or possibly done something else to basically kill himself and not kill those other drivers. So, I'm very curious to see how this affects the Ruggs case, because if Henry Ruggs receives anywhere over a 10-year sentence, or in my opinion, if he doesn't receive less than a 5 to 10-year sentence, I think it's just completely inappropriate. I mean, I know alcohol was involved, but what makes Henry Ruggs less serious of a case than this other case? If anything, it was both of lack of judgment, and Ruggs may plead guilty and may accept responsibility. So I think he should receive credit for that. And I don't believe that a sentence of less than 5 years, a 2 to 3 year sentence, is inappropriate in the Ruggs case. And a lot of people are saying he should get 10 years, he should get 20 years. I don't think so. I mean, I think that he should get a state prison sentence, but it should be in the range of what you would receive for a vehicular homicide in Pennsylvania, which is the mandatory minimum sentence of 3 years of state incarceration. I think it's an appropriate sentence. A person did lose their life. You can't bring that person back, but this wasn't a premeditated murder. It was a extreme lack of judgment shown, and it cost that woman her life, and that needs to be dealt with. But again, I see that this Aguilar case really helps the Ruggs defense. But if you have questions about sentencing or motions for reconsideration, give us a call at 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I will be doing a blog article on this case and linking in the article to this video when it gets put out. But it's an interesting case. I have handled cases like this, and we have worked out resolutions with the state, because at trial we wouldn't have done very well at all. So once again, if you have questions, 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey, and I'll talk to you all very soon.